Welcome back to the most professional StarCraft 2 with the greatest player of all time, the new world champion, the Zerg in the orange, the finisher, the first of his name. We have Serral. Alongside his teammate, one of the top Protoss players in Europe in the red, it's Jumi. And facing off against him, the Zerg in the blue, GG Machine, alongside his teammate, the Terran in teal, Noctmar, aka Nightmare. In a best-of-3 2-versus-2 showdown as part of uThermal's $10,000 2v2 tournament, the largest 2v2 tournament in 15 years of StarCraft 2 history. So before we get started, it'd be incredible if you could smash that like button and maybe even subscribe and help convince the algorithm you'd like to see something just a little bit different and maybe just a little bit better. And Jimmy, what are we at? 1,684 likes on this video, on this cast, and I'll cast another one. I'll probably do it anyways, because I don't know what else I'd do with my life. But thank you for watching. Hopefully, you've had a good day so far. And hopefully it's about to get just a little bit better, as I am incredibly excited to see what these players, the literal best of the best, come up with in this criminally underplayed mode. Yeah, the game isn't incredibly balanced around 2 versus 2, but sometimes balance is boring, and the chaos of double the players, double the supply, and at least double the drama, I think can definitely make up for it. Especially considering, one, StarCraft 2 players not exactly known for working well with others, present company included, but also one of the genius quirks of the tournament is none of these players knew who they were playing with this round beforehand. Out of the couple dozen players from Europe and a couple from NA, each round is randomized. So that means any sort of crazy strategy, all-in, sneaky opening build is not something you can necessarily use the next round because your current teammate may be your next enemy. So I think that'll add to the potential dynamic on top of the fact 2 versus 2 is notoriously chaotic. I'm not sure how much experience many of these players have. Almost all of them much better known for their professional 1v1 experience, obviously. But the general dynamic, well, we already see. Zerg is the punching bag. Okay? There are exceptions, but the general rule is Zerg gets punched in the face, in the hatchery, in the creep tumor, in the queens repeatedly. So that way your teammate can actually carry you. It's not pretty, but it's honest work. Because Zerg in general doesn't scale as well or as quickly in terms of tech as Terran and Protoss. Now, the big risk for Terran and Protoss in 1 versus 1, going for that rush to tech, is you'll just die. You will just die. Okay, your opponent will walk across the map and slap you out of the game. But here, when you have a Zerg player in front of you to box out effectively, you can get a lot more tech a lot earlier because you don't have to do pesky things like defend. Now, I'm not sure how much that dynamic will be at play here and how much the Zerg players will be more tech-oriented instead. But as time goes on, I think it's very likely it'll revolve around whether or not the Zerg can put enough on the field to keep the Protoss or the Terran intact. So, our first strategies. We have Hell Clone from Nightmare with a delayed second base. Did Serral scout this? I'm assuming Serral because Serral. It appears yes. The command center timing should give some of this potential away. Jumi is opting. He's got an Oracle first and immediately going into a Twilight Council for Blink. So, another quirk of 2 versus 2 is after about the 5-minute mark, you can trade resources. By trade resources, I mean you can just hand them money. There is no sort of tax. There is no time on it. Whatever amount you have in the bank, you can send to your teammate potentially. It's not heavily used. Well, it was in some of the warm-up tournaments to this. I'm not sure if we're using the further delay on potential trading. But in order to hit some very sharp timings, maybe our Zerg players will send that extra Vespene gas, especially, to their much more tech-oriented teammates. But it does look like the blue team from the north is very focused on attacking. 32 SCVs for Nightmare, the Terran machine, with only 44 drones. Compare that to Serral, who's at 48 drones and 3 bases. Alongside Jumi, who's at 45 probes. He's building a Dark Shrine, he's getting Blink, and this is not a super pylon. Stasis wards on the way. One going to be triggered by a few Zerglings. Serral pumping out the roaches. Ravagers in production for Machine. Another stasis, a single ling, not good enough. Serral with a small counterattack. We'll cut down on the already slight drone count. But here we go. The blue team is knocking on the door. Blink is not done. Serral only has a few roaches to answer. The Cyclones are locking on and easily ripping through. A few Hellions back at home will clean up the Zerglings before Serral can do much more counterattack damage. But Serral taking the brunt of it. Right in the front of everything. Trying to buy time desperately for Jimmy to get those Blink Stalkers completed. So far, not losing too many drones, and right now all they have to do is hold. Serral may lose the third base, but as long as they can hold the high ground, what a force field! And you can mineral walk through stasis units? I mean, I guess that makes sense. It just... I've never really seen that scenario before. It probably won't be the last thing in 2 versus 2, but the hatchery will finally be taken down. Serral forced to retreat, but maintains 48 drones to just 39, now 41 of his Zerg counterpart. The high ground is holding. Blink Stalkers, absolutely critical. More stasis on the way. Cyclones trying to lock on. Corrosive Bile blinks out. Oracle targeted. Serral's just throwing Get down, Mr. Protoss! Throwing the roaches in front so the Blink Stalkers can actually get the damage done, but the Stalkers blunk forward. Serral already re-expanding to a third, and I think Team Serral has held. At least for now. That little alleyway down the center, that tiny choke point. And gotta be a little bit careful. The Cyclones on the open field are an absolute menace. Going up the ramp was the major difficulty, but with the Blink Stalkers, and I believe a Dark Shrine, yes, a Dark Shrine was built, a couple DTs slipping by Jumi, with the potential ace in the hole here as the Dark Templar moving into Nightmare's natural as well as Machine's main base. And this could undercut the entire attack. Neither player with enough economy to really absorb the damage the DTs are going to deal. Meanwhile, the Hellions run by, trying to incinerate the probes. We'll get a couple of them, but Jimmy already has 53 probes. Machine, 53 drones. But the DT in the main base, this has completely undercut the entirety of the aggression from the blue team. Serral will be allowed to get his third. The Citizen's Arrest, the Dark Templar, will be taken down. And I think we'll get dragged kicking and screaming to a full macro game. What an exchange thus far between these players. Serral out in front, losing over twice the resources of Jumi here, but allowing him to get the Blink Stalkers. He's also got +1 attack. Machine boxing out for the Cyclones of Nightmare, and the Zergs weathering the attacks for now. Infestation Pit is on the way for Serral. Infestation Pit for Machine, as both players potentially angling towards Hive, but Swarm Hosts also have a much greater... they find a lot more value in 2 versus 2 than sometimes in 1v1. For many of the same reasons that mech and heavier tech from Terran and Protoss do. You can get away with going for a more fragile unit composition because you can hopefully rely on your teammate to defend your weaknesses. It isn't nearly as much of a risk to build a bunch of factories as it is in 1v1 because sometimes you just die. It isn't nearly as much of a risk to go for Blink Stalkers and DTs because you have the world champion with a bunch of roaches throwing them directly into the enemy and getting them obliterated. But the amount of time it takes to kill the roaches makes all the difference. So somehow it almost evens out directly. Almost exactly the same supplies across the board. 4 bases for Machine as he continues to drone up and get a Lurker Den as well as a Hive. Serral with a Hive, but no Hydra Den. Clearly intending, I think, on Vipers, and then just Roaches and Ravagers. Playing full support right now. As Jumi is going for Disruptors and Double Robo. Blocks forward, engages the Cyclones. A few Siege Tanks, though, will make things very difficult. The Cyclones wandering forward, takes out several. But that's about 5 Siege Tanks too many there. The Queens wandering around. Creep will block Terran and Protoss alike. It doesn't matter if your teammates or your enemies, because Creep does not discriminate. Creep's Creep. It doesn't matter where it oozes awkwardly from. Okay? Words to remember. Moment of... But, And on some maps, that could be quite a quandary. But for now, Serral and Jumi moving forward. The Roaches trying to catch up with the Blinkstalkers, who are desperate to get into the fray. Roaches to the south side, Cyclones to the north. Blinks forward. There are lurkers on the high ground, but they're not quite done yet. The rocks here creating quite a choke point as well, but the lurkers are about to complete, and siege tanks on the high ground. The double siege is going to be too much. I don't think there's any detection with this army. Some disruptors getting involved. 5 Vipers in production for Serral. Vipers, an incredible choice against both Mech Terran and against lurkers. So, gonna have some double duty there, but Serral clearly playing the support character here. Whereas Jumi opting for a fleet beacon now. Teching all the way up towards the ultimate Protoss tech. Going for pretty much exclusively the most expensive units. Disruptors, Dark Templar, Blinkstalkers, and now Fleet Beacon on the way with +3 attack. Overall, the combined supplies similar. Just +1 mech weapons on the way. Just about to complete for Nightmare. The Lurkers, halfway through their range upgrade. It'll likely be done by the next engagement. Now we see Hellions, Blue Flame Hellions running by. Serral at 64 drones. But in order to go Roach Viper, you don't need a booming economy. He's got a Lurker down on the way himself as well. These armies are so incredibly dangerous to one another. An order of magnitude more than 1v1 as we head towards 800 supply across the board. The Roach Lurker to the south, the siege tanks to the north, but Serral with near full energy on the Vipers can yank it right into the Protoss and Roach army. And now the Vipers looking for an engagement, gets a couple of the siege tanks. Jumi fires off the disruptor shots and Serral rug pulls him. Oh no! Yanks in some of the lurkers as well. Serral yanked the lurkers out of the disruptor shots like a matador away from the ball, but thankfully the army was more than enough to deal with them. Just a bit of a miscue there. Disruptors dangerous to everyone involved. Enemies, friends, and yourself, as disruptors can one-shot almost the entirety of everything on the board at the moment. Can you consume your teammates' buildings? I hope he tries. I don't think so. I think it's specific. Can you consume your enemies' building? Well, we know that you can't, but bit of a counterattack, a few roaches, and some charge lots. Meanwhile, though, no one in position to deal with the Hydras and Lurkers moving up to the north side. Yanks out a couple. Get over here. A couple more, not even bothering with the Ruptors. But fires off a double barrel. Blinding Cloud, just for good measure. One Lurker survives. Some Vipers from Machine gonna try to counter. But so far, Serral has had full control of the skies. Unfortunately, some Hellions coming in. Gonna charbroil another base. Switch them off. More Lurkers in production to the north side. Serral already trying to rebuild these drones. Mothership to save the day. And Mothership cloaking works on absolutely everything. It can cover the entire army and almost your mother as well. Meanwhile, Serral almost consumed this base to death, but instead it serves as a masterful bait for the Zerglings. They actually retargeted onto it. Serral anticipating a Nidus in the main, and lo and behold, there's a Nidus network on the way. Lurkers will take down the proxy gate to the north. We're nearing that 800 supply mark. Maximum armies on either side. Disruptors, the army for Jumi is 7 disruptors, a mothership, 3 immortals, and he has a decent amount of... Oh no, the disruptors! Kidnapped en masse. A single disruptor out of Solidarity comes up completely empty. A couple more Hellions. Brenda, no! It's dangerous to go alone! Well... You got a good point, actually. All right, never... Hey, whoa! Meanwhile, Nidus attempted in the main, but Serral anticipating just a few roaches to take it down. Charge lots over to the left side. A few more Zerglings running by, but a few spine crawlers will help defend the bases. Cyclones locking onto the charge lots. Hydras lunging forward, but that gives up some position in the center of the map. Storms coming through. Vipers still overhead. No direct counter at all to them. Plenty of energy for plenty of abducts and maybe a few blinding clouds to boot. Still, 800 supply across the board. Disruptors and Templar with Storm are an existential threat. The Roaches are able to take down the Nidus from the high ground just literally the second it's about to complete. Another couple Zealots make it through. Oh, whoa, Nightmare! Nightmare walled in like 12 of his own tanks. Of course he did. It was a single barracks. Thankfully for him, he completely annihilated the first Nidus. And that's how he discovered that he had 12 siege tanks in reserve. Serral alley-oops the siege tanks into the blinding cloud, but lurker on lurker violence. Oh, an underground battle here, but there's no detection from Serral. He can't engage the lurkers. He's going to lose his natural. Up to the top right side, Cyclones and Hellions going to take out the base. A single Dark Templar will finish off the hatchery at the 9 o'clock position. The mothership helps incinerate the Nidus worms, but Serral's already lost so much of his economy. Machine trying to work his way through. Nightmare, though, with the reserve tanks now on the field. The Hell Clones, still the Vipers from Serral. He's only lost one of them, but Machine still has some Vipers of his own. Another Nidus in the main. Serral walling in with some of his own lurkers as the Hydras try to get out. That's something of an incestuous problem there, but meanwhile, the Vipers are yanking each other at the trading spaces. I actually think Machine came out of that better, as he had the Hydras underneath. The Protoss army moving to the north side. Siege tanks, though, obliterating the front line. I don't think there are enough Immortals to break through, but Serral reinforces. There's still that the gateway from before. The mothership overhead. Cyclones lock on. Serral pops back into the Nidus. DTs, Hydras, and Lurkers, oh my. Serral, 200 supplies still. Machine as well, both sides with plenty of money in the bank, but Serral gets into the production of the Terran. A Nidus slipped through, and now he's wishing a few of those tanks were stuck in his base. But the Hydras just pop. He pops a few into the Nidus and takes down the Viper. Of course he does. Another Nidus, a couple changelings. Serral forcing the armies back now, as the Lurkers going from a concern to a quandary. Warp Prism taken out. Mothership. There's actually no anti-air. The mothership itself is a real issue. Another Nidus in the main, but neither side really noticing it. Lurkers moving up, active cloaking. Hydras lunge down. More Hydras getting caught. Not sure what the upgrades are, and I don't care to find out. There's too much going on. Another base will be taken down. The Warp Prism helping out. The mothership holding it down. Machine down the center. The Cyclones will slice through the Hydras, but Serral's able to take down the hatchery in time. Tempest added into the composition, but the Vipers, or Vikings rather, can contest them. The scan will help obliterate the Immortals, and still unclear, as the army is still near 800 supply across the board. Lunges forward, deals with this. The Warp Prism into the corner. The Vipers can yank the Lurkers into the Hydras. Scans all from Nightmare, who's down to 173 supply. Brenda! The creep is an awkward place to be, as he has to move through non-creep areas, but the Lurkers can't burrow because there are Lurkers there, making things incredibly awkward. But he is eventually able to take them out. Nightmare losing a lot. Yanks in some of the Vipers. Yank. Ah! That is my statement and testimony. I don't know what you want from me. What? Ah! Meanwhile, Nightmare exchanging. Serral, 64 drones. Nightmare down to 50 drones. A single Lurker in the main. Everyone has lost a huge amount. The Zerg, slightly more resources, but not as much as you might think overall. Like 27 to 30k apiece. Takes down the Warp Prism. Micros against the Zealots. Nidus is cleaned up. Meanwhile, Mothership trying to move forward. Where are the Vipers? But the Vipers with Blinding Cloud could collapse on this army. Blinding Clouds across the board. The tanks can't see anything. And in the darkness will be obliterated by Hydras, Immortals, and Lurkers alike. The Mothership still overhead with active cloaking. Machine tries to do some counter damage, but it's not enough. They'll just tap it out. GG. Machine might try one more fight. Remember, these were not preset teams. He might not agree. He agrees enough. And game one. So dramatically and quickly going from almost 200 to nothing. But with armies of that magnitude just dueling around the entire map, the Zerg's losing so much on the outlying edges, but eventually the core of the Terran army is crushed. 52 Cyclones, 20 tanks. The Vipers, the crowbar to break in. And so far, Serral and Jumi holding it down. Serral throwing himself in front so the Blink Stalkers could build up a critical mass enough in order to deal with it. It's a real adjustment trying to keep track of everything going on. I've gotten pretty, hopefully okay at keeping up with 1v1, but with double the players, it's at least twice as much. The numbers don't lie. And speaking of numbers, it would be incredible if you got the means and motivation to support the tournament. You can go to the link in the description. It's not hard. Just copy paste it, Jimmy. How many times do we have to go over this? Okay? Now, you don't have to type the HTTP anyways. But you can support the tournament as of this time. If you're watching in the first couple days, thank you. You're breathtaking. You're amazing. Like and subscribe. Then you can get in on the ground floor and help support the next season of the uThermal 2v2 circuit. And also this weekend, Saturday and Sunday, August, I want to say 15th-ish, 16th, you can figure it out, will be the playoffs. This is the group stage. So look forward to that. But make sure to check out the match arena, and you can potentially support the tournament as well if you're so inclined. They've already unlocked all the prize pool, and uThermal working towards... And of course, you can check out many of the games on his channel as well. In fact, most of the games. Well, we're going to show off some of the highlights here. And if you happen to watch live, it'd be amazing to give me some recommendations, because there's actually so many games. It's kind of hard to narrow down. Well, once again, make sure to check the link in the description, as it looks like neither side is going to try to murder one another in the first couple minutes. You got a couple minutes to do so, or you could just pause, but that would be boring. It's more about background noise. What is the talking head saying today? Overlords? Ooh, don't make it weird. Why are you speaking? We don't want to let them know you can hear us. Ooh. Stop following me. Sorry, I whacked up. I can show you the... Ooh. Well, he is keeping vision for the Marine here. This time around, we've switched colors, unfortunately. Bit annoying. Do that. I'm not sure if they're gonna enforce that for the finals, but... Serral and Jumi now, the blue team, against Nightmare and Machine. Ah! Oh. Isn't that the co-op mission thing? Anyways, they didn't tell me your mother was coming. Meanwhile, the fact they're actively trying to drive the Overlord away is suspicious in and of itself. Using the Overlord for vision, because Overlords have as much... Oh my god. Scares me every time. We're on Undercurrent, which I guess is our underwater map. I believe the physics apply. Their Zerglings get in, as walling off is always awkward with a Zerg on your team. The probe will take it down. Citizens arrest. Got a bit of a spray there as well. Oh my dog. Bit of a bloody nose on that one. Is there one over here too? Yep. Symmetrical. Ooh. A new meaning to the word flingy. As the Overlord just gonna go off into the C set. No, okay. Three's a crowd. Machine making sure that Overlord is not up to any sort of funny business. Or any business at all, really, besides just sitting there. Sorry, the builds are actually super interesting. I get easily distracted, though. Double, triple factory now. That back pocket base going to be handed to the non-Zergs. Meanwhile, Serral taking the gold down the center. Over... Oh, Oracle. Just going to be taken down. Oh, I take it back. Escapes with 1 HP. The Cyclones hunting it down, but just barely fast enough to evade them. Gets a revelation as well. Just a little bit of extra spite. Pylon on the high ground, just kind of a semi-choke point. Looks like Jumi is attempting a third base. Might be a bit optimistic against what's about to be a triple factory play, but here we go. Cyclones and Hellions, Serral with a bunch of Lings, a few Banes mixed in. Nightmare. Well, that Overlord spotting all of this, as there are no air units, so they can't tell above this little biolab looking area that there's an Overlord. They can certainly suspect it. And not that it matters, as this is just going to be an all-out attack. Once again, Nightmare and Machine are going to try to put Serral and Jimmy to sleep. But they're very much aware and awake at the moment, fighting against it. Stasis wards, easily triggered by the Zerglings, though. The Banelings will help to zone out. There is no blink, so the Stalkers are very vulnerable if they're left alone. That stasis actually serves as something of a wall, and the Banelings still zoning out the Zerglings. Serral doing a great job zoning with what he has. Those Hellions being removed from the fight, certainly helpful. But the Cyclones knock the Oracle out of the sky. Shield battery at the back line. And Serral very well could be losing his third hatchery yet again. There's a few roaches on the high ground. The hatchery is ripped to shreds, I say. But, what? Serral got a bunch of Zerglings in. The door was wide open. Leaving it open for a Zerg teammate, but unfortunately, all Zerg look alike. Especially if you're colorblind, if you're orange-blue colorblind, I guess. It's okay, some of my best friends are Zerg. Nightmare down to 36 SCVs. So despite the fact Serral lost his third, he's still at... Wait, okay. I gotta... They're on the other side now. Serral's at 41 drones. Jimmy at 56 probes. Meanwhile, Nightmare 36 SCVs, but Machine has 62 drones and is working on 4 bases. So it's gonna be up to Machine to hold it down. Hell clones are efficient even if you have 0 workers. Blink is not quite done, but Charge has completed. Stasis. Both players noticing it at once and sending in a unit to trigger it. Force field. Emotional support field. Those units are so locked in right now. Jimmy runs by with a few charge lots. And since we're not playing the 1v1 with the super sanitized interface, we actually get to see some of the player skins here. Which is the cool, like, cyber zealots or whatever they are. How did the Zerglings keep getting in? Nightmare's down to 34 SC. How many has he lost? 13 to just random Zerglings. Serral, so good about finding that perfect timing when he just knows the opponents are looking the wrong way. Gets those Zerglings in, has completely undercut Nightmare's composition. If he had those 13 more SCVs in his third base mining, it'd be a dire situation for the blue team to the south. But right now, Serral has rebuilt the third. And again, you have to close the door! But then how will the queen slowly walk down? It doesn't matter! Force fields lock in. The Zerg... Oh, he has Burrow! Which is certainly helping. Maybe the Zerglings were there the whole time. Either way, though, the Zerglings unburrow. The Roach and Ravager, they're reburrows! And a Dark Templar now! Realizing maybe he doesn't want to actually get involved. But fighting midfield Roach Ravager, Machine with 156 supply, and throwing his weight around. Immortals, part of the composition. The DTs, though, undercutting. More DTs coming in. Zergling counterattack. The economy being gutted to the north, but Machine still has 171 supply. But a single disruptor fired from the high ground. Huge hit down the center mass. They have to come straight up the ramp directly into the disruptor fire. Oh, wow. I'm surprised. Well, not that surprised, but both players being severely hamstrung by the relatively small counterattack. Serral now with burrow move roaches, a couple disruptors, and there are a lot more to deal with now that there's so much going on at home. The burrow move roaches are almost impossible to deal with. I think they can just hit the drones from the high ground as well. And on defense, yet again. But Serral on defense is kind of like a superpower alongside everything else as the Ravagers float up to the ascend to the surface. Some more roaches. The SCVs can't catch a break, but they will be broken. Roaches and Ravagers exchanging fire. Serral closes in. Machine. Oh, that's a big hit. Though honestly, now that Disruptors don't do enough to one-shot Roaches, it's kind of anticlimactic. A little sad there. Come on, give me that big hit. That big explosion right over the center mass. That's what I want to see. I think we all want to see it. Like and subscribe, and verify your age. Gives him a curveball off to the side. Another one. That's still a lot of... Machine 185 supply of Roach Ravager. The Disruptors are cutting into it, but another Nexus will be taken down. There's not much economy at home, but the army supply is massive right now, and the siege tank's helping out. Nightmare doing what he can with that limited economy. Serral popping in again. Another Disruptor shot comes up empty. Second shot goes through the center. Need constant scans to deal with the Roaches, but Serral splits. He's working his way through. The Disruptors are recharging. The counterattack starting to do so much damage. The Roaches on the high ground taking down even more of the drones. The momentum being undercut. Even though the army supply is so dangerous, Serral clearly... Oh my. So many drones. 36 SCVs and 34 drones killed by the combination efforts of the DTs, the Zerglings, and the Burrow Move Roaches. Serral and Jumi have held with flying colors. They now have the Disruptors, they have the supply. It's all over but the G's. It's not getting any easier. This unit composition isn't getting any better. Machine now gonna try. Thinks that's a pretty good idea with the Burrow Move Roaches. With the siege tanks. Helpful, but we'll siege mid-fight. Disruptors barrel through. Fires off another shot. There's actually enough Roach Ravager to be dangerous. +2 attack done. Serral, +2 as well. But collapses on the army. And that'll be 2-0. Serral and Jumi will both rack up a 2-0 victory. Moving forward. Bringing us into our anti-spoiler / bonus series. Yes, even more. I wanted to show off more. And something that you might not have expected. We're going to see the same map, yes. But completely different teammates. Though a few familiar faces. Let me introduce, in our second series, we have the world champion in the red, the Zerg. It's Serral, alongside Max Pax. Yes, Max Pax participating as well. The rank 1 Protoss in this tournament. And I believe actually communicating with his teammates, at least through whatever sort of mind construct / Danish bodyguard of royalty that he has. So, on the other side, though, we have Machine once again. I think Machine held his own. Just, unfortunately, Nightmare wasn't enough and helped him come up short. You know, I'm sure you can assign the blame. That's like half the point of team games, is so you can blame your teammates. And if they're at least half your team, you can round up. I'm just saying. So by that attribution, Nightmare is not to blame. Wait. Now I'm confused at my own math. Either way, +1 like and subscribe. And one of our few North American players, the Canadian Protoss Trigger. So, some of our best players in the world out here. And this time it's a mirror match of sorts. Zerg Protoss versus Zerg Protoss. But the beauty of 2 versus 2 is with that extra cover of your teammate, it doesn't even need to nearly... I don't think anyone has an idea of what it's supposed to look like. There are definitely some preset builds on the top of the ladder, but when you get players of this caliber, I think it kind of goes out the window, and we got to rewrite the book. Also, details like having a pocket base to work off of, potentially feeding money to your teammate. Unfortunately, there's no easy way to see if they are transferring resources to one another. Besides just staring and trying to see if their money goes up very quickly. There's no sort of indicator. Because, unfortunately, We never really put any effort in StarCraft 2 to make team games a thing. Whether it comes to the observer interface, I mean, we have one, which is sick, but whether it comes to the observer interface outside of just the basics, or balancing for 2v2, or the fact that creep can sometimes block your teammates from walling off. Not that that would have mattered much last game, but... So the reason why creep works in co-op is because the AI is coded not to build like cannons on your creep. The reason why you can build on creep or your teammates creep is because those restrictions are just removed. It isn't like a different setting. It's just the AI won't cannon rush you. So at least you have that going for you. Unfortunately, honestly, I think that's the simplest, maybe not the simplest, but the most important thing. And the real struggle for Zergs in team games is that creep just outright blocks your teammates in many cases and can hurt more than help. What am I watching? They're committed. Oh wait, there's a clear winner here, but it doesn't. Max Pax gets up into point blank range and ends up winning the duel. And then he stands very still because Protoss vision is based on movement. Trigger. This adept re-shielded, and now that's very come back around, just standing there the whole time. Phoenixes will be the choice out of Trigger. There's already a Stargate on the way. Mass Phoenix. Phoenix Wars, advanced Phoenix Wars could certainly be the Oh, now I have to think. It hurts us precious. So this is the most common meta in 2v2. Mass Phoenix, and doing whatever you can, shoving every spare resource into your teammate's face. I would say mouth, but Protoss. Be very careful. So when you lift a Baneling and knock it down, or take it out with Phoenixes, it still explodes like it's on the ground. It does not do damage to air units, unfortunately, but the Queens... Brenda! Watch out! Ride together, die together. Phoenix is not so good against mass Zergling, obviously. But the Phoenix count is everything here. Max Pax has 4 to 5. Serral's at 49 drones. Machine only at 40. But he has the gold base to work with. I have to assume that the Zerg players are feeding at least some of their Vespene gas to their teammates. Or maybe not, because only one geyser so far. But getting an advantage in the Phoenix count not only means that you have air control, but you can deny overlords and make it almost impossible. Since Zerg is limited to effectively queens, spore crawlers, and prayers as anti-air in the early game, there's not much support to be had, especially anywhere but directly inside of your bases. Max Pax, 8 Phoenixes to 8. A fleet beacon is on the way for Trigger. As we're going up into the Phoenix range war. And if you can get Phoenix range with a comparable amount of Phoenixes, you can just win. Like, it's impossible for the Phoenixes to catch you. Just straight up, they cannot get close. They can attack. Ooh, rapid fire lift. So, Phoenix range timing could be a game winner. All right, Fleet Beacon is done. Does he have enough to start it? The Pulse Crystals. Trigger. He begins. And he's going to have like at least a 30-second advantage. So, neither side has gotten a scout of the main base, I don't think. Let's see. No Fleet Beacon spotted. Yeah, of course you would have attacked the Phoenix. And of course you do have teammates as well. The Fleet Beacon will not be spotted. The Changeling is taken out. The relative Cold War may be going very hot soon. Max Pax still zoning, but Phoenix range is seconds away for Trigger. If Max Pax can jump those Phoenixes, though... Oh, he's going to have it done. Oh, it could just all end here. Oh, no. He's got the range upgrade. He's chasing. I think he clicked on him to find it out. Serral gonna be losing overlords. The Roach is like, well, this is fun. The Zerg just... Gonna lift up all the probes, but he just can't fight until range is done. He literally cannot. Gonna chase it down, but Phoenix range on both sides. Gonna chase him to the ends of the earth. I have no idea who has more, and I'm not sure either player is convinced either. 14-12 in favor of MaxPax, but the damage has been done. They killed off the probes. They knocked down the overlords. Trigger, though, no. Serral's still at 66 drones. Mass roaches for the Zerg as they're just watching the I don't even know what that meme is from. You know what I'm talking about, though. The looking up and panicking meme. I think we have it. Jimmy, do we have that? Quickly! We gotta have these memes on hand. Come on. Pull it together! Ah, yes. Not exactly, but... Make that the whole game, but... Dozens of Phoenixes above, and neither side willing to go for Hydralisks because they're expensive and can easily get sliced out of the sky after being lifted by literally dozens of Phoenixes or run over by the Roach Ravager. So here we go, as the Zergs will mash into each other on the ground and the Phoenixes will prance around in the sky. The battle begins. There's a Spore Crawler, but Trigger outraging it, stacking up to hide their numbers quite literally and making it almost impossible to target fire. A mothership is on the way for MaxPax. The Roach Ravager, a single set of corrosive biles could win the game if it hits the right stack of Phoenixes. Serral's maxed out. Machine's almost there as well. On top of MaxPax's base, the war in the skies, the corrosive biles on the ground. Good corrosive biles out of Machine. Down goes the Nexus. Gonna battle forward. The Phoenixes. They look like the sideshow, but they're by far the most important. It's gonna pick up some of the Ravagers mid-fight. Comes back around to help with it. And Trigger trying to hold on. MaxPax. Phoenixes. Serral survives. He's going to win the ground war. The mothership is done. Oh, this changes everything. It looks like Serral and MaxPax won that fight. They have the supply. They have the Phoenix count. There's a mothership. I think they've done it in an admittedly very, very convoluted engagement. But they're able to hold on, and I think Serral just keeping his economy together despite the duress the Phoenixes put him under made all the difference here. Serral willing to jump in front of all the damage and buy enough time for MaxPax to now have an overwhelming amount of forces. I think they've some roaches on the other side scrambling across the map, but it's not going to be enough. Serral will hold MaxPax up, and from the sky, MaxPax will drag Serral to victory. There's not enough. Serral's maxed out. GG. Max Serral survived the engagement and will take the win in game number 1. Still, a bit of a mirror matchup, admittedly, but a wild one at that, where it felt like Trigger actually had the advantage just slightly. He had the quicker Phoenix range, as well as a couple more Phoenixes. But Serral just calmly macroing despite his losses, and he takes home the win. Game number 2. We're back on Emerald City, which is probably our most played 2v2 map ever. It's been in the map pool for like half of MaxPax's life. MaxPax at 21, 22 now? I think it's been in the 2v2 map pool for like 7 years. Maybe it was rotated out once or twice, but it's back in now and continues to be. As the map pool rotations are glacial. For 1v1, and 2v2's even slower. Machine with the Zerg logo under his hatchery. I like it. Throwing down the spray. Now, yeah, again, you made it this far. So at the very least, make sure to check out uThermal's videos on the 2v2 tournament. I'm really looking forward to the playoffs as well. I really want those recommendations. And honestly, the fact you made it this far in the video is already telling the algorithm that this is something you might want to see. YouTube, they know everything about you, all right? They know you're a 30, 40-something IT web developer from California or Germany. Okay, I'm not really narrowing it down, but still. They got the idea. Thing is, on YouTube, even if you're showing people apples every single day, they're like, you're really good with the apples. Even if you have another flavor, I wouldn't even call this oranges. This is like another flavor. You like red apples? These are green apples. YouTube's like, you are a red apple channel. And this is why it's such a struggle to do anything but the same thing. And honestly, I love casting StarCraft 2 1v1. But with balance patches, moving at the speed of a queen off creep, and the map pool barely changing, and honestly the meta kind of getting figured out partially because of several of the players in the game right now. I want a little variety. Variety is the spice of life, and the spice must flow. And is this happening again? He's right behind me, isn't he? Sorry, I will not elaborate further, and I will not be taking any questions. Like and subscribe. Zerglings dueling. Stargate's on the way. We may see yet another Phoenix duel. It is the safest way. Stop right there. Oh, not you. Adept shades right through. Phoenix is in production. Not sure how you change it up. Honestly, it comes down to execution. MaxPack's getting any amount of probes here is certainly going to help. Yeah, timeout. Energy recharge onto the Phoenix and the Zergling. Yeah, now think about what you've done. The Phoenix putting the Adept in timeout, though it did cost 2 lifts, so that's something, I guess. Already a double... Oh! And here's the swerve. Trigger. Feigning mass Phoenix, but he has no gases at the natural, and he's proxying 3 gates. Machine has a Roach Warren done, +1 melee on the way. They're going all in. MaxPax is going to have nothing but Phoenixes. And there's not enough of them to counteract the sheer amount of units that are being sent across the field. It's going to be on Serral yet again to figure this one out. But a single and Serral comes through as he immediately scouts the entire base. We'll see the additional gateways on the way. And the alarm bells are already going off. The entire army came back. Oh. Feels like overkill. Using a lift to kill a Zergling. A man of your talents? It should become very clear here that the Phoenix advantage goes to MaxPax. He's actually building an Oracle and building some cannons as well. That won't help Serral's base, though, as obviously you can't build on creep. The Warpins, they did not spot the proxy. So the Warpins will be coming a lot quicker than expected here. The cannons on the high ground, but MaxPax only has a few Phoenixes to contribute to the fight. Gonna try to lift up some of the Stalkers, maybe knocks down the Phoenix. The Queens! Yeah, who's flying now? Not us, Brenda. Not us. Shut up, Susan! Not us. Lifts up some more. And so far, so good. But the Zerglings get the wraparound on the Queens. The Spinecrawler's not done. The Phoenixes have no energy. Need a Red Bull. They're just sitting there impotently. Gonna pick up a few more of the Stalkers, but Serral desperately trying to get in front of this. There's just not enough energy on the Phoenixes. There's nothing to deal with this directly. Trigger coming up with even more Stalkers. Gonna knock down some of the Phoenixes. Does snipe off another Ravager. The Zergling's about to become unfrozen. This choke point helping out so much. Drones mineral walk through. Void Ray is on the way from Max Packs, but the supplies are incredibly misleading. Well, the supplies reflect the situation. But with 8 Phoenixes in the sky and no energy between them, there's simply no way to deal with this many Zerglings. Ye old strategy. If your opponent's doing something greedy, something weird, go fucking kill him. And here we are. Pulling the trigger on this all in with a machine-like execution. Max Packs, Phoenix is knocked down, Stalker's freed from the Graviton beams. The probes, Void Ray comes out. It's gonna be far too little and far too late. Serral's down to a dozen drones, the same he started with. I mean, are they going to... No, they're not gonna win. GG. Serral fights a little longer. Another GG, and we're all tied up. Not going down without a fight. Machine and Trigger coming up with a very solid timing. Able to turn it around and force game number 3. Showing that it's not all about macroing with your perfect build. There's so much vulnerability there. I think a lot of players going into this are going to be kind of defaulting to their 1v1 style builds, and that is a mistake. As 2v2, you can't get away with it. You cannot just go 2 Stargate Phoenix with no ground units. Even if you're building cannons, even if your opponent is only building... No. There's just... Not even Serral can hold 2 ground armies with 1 ground army. The numbers don't lie, and they spell disaster for you. So, going into the ace match. Honestly, I'm not sure if each game matters, or if it's just... I'm pretty sure... In the case of a series tiebreaker, the amount of games you win matters. But we'll see as the playoffs roll around. And again, make sure to check out Matcherino and potentially support the tournament if you got the means in the description. Otherwise, make sure to just check out uThermal's channel for some of the... Is he gonna proc... What am I watching? He's proxy hatching, which will block the base. He's just gonna go 2 gate. So I don't know if this is a good idea, but it's a great one. This certainly changes the paradigm. Yeah, Serral and Max Packs, 2 of the top 5 players in the world. Alright? So, you gotta do something to keep them out of their comfort zone. And this certainly is something. I have no... Like, he's clearly... This is it. Like, it's just there as a placeholder. It's literally holding this place so that Max Packs can't expand easily. There's no alternative base to expand to. You have to go all the way down like a double ramp here, so... Huh. Now what do you follow it up with? I mean, there's just this squatter here. A couple of depths at a time. He's just gonna put some more damage on it. Builds an overlord and will scout the base with it. Ooh. Ooh. Okay, that is one of the ways to scout. I'm sorry, I'm dumbstruck. I feel like I am struck dumb. I have no idea. I thought I played a decent amount. I probably played more team games than any of the players in this tournament. Maybe bar a couple, but well, now we find out. Couple of depths, gonna get a lot of the drones. Machine at 18 drones. So not only did he commit some of his economy, oh my god! Using Serral's creep in this case, he was able to get, and now making the egg will block the base even further. Oh, sweet Kerrigan, that is some filthy Zerg. Unfortunately, Serral just has a bunch of Zerglings in the base. It's gonna make things complicated. That's MaxPax's Oracle, which will be taken down by the Phoenix. Still just running things around. Queen's gonna get surrounded and ripped apart. And, well, I think now Serral and MaxPax are embracing that same very direct sort of counter strategy. If your opponent's doing something weird, well, Machine is down to 14 drones. Trigger has 23 probes. A single Phoenix will take down multiple Overlords, and it's not like Machine can really afford to build more. It's looking like a counter all-in. Fancy Oracle from Trigger. He's got the, whatever, I forget which skin that is. The pretentious-looking one. They're all pretentious. But Citizen's Arrest on the Adept. But now there's just a bunch of Zerglings. So this has certainly not gone well for the blue team. But an Oracle gets in. Trigger gonna kill some of MaxPax's probes because most of the units are across the map, and now he's building more Phoenixes. Gonna recall the Oracle before it can get outright murdered. The Stalker is jammed into the tiniest corner. Serral's pinging it, and MaxPax just ignores it. Typical teammate. It's like, hey, you wanna help? No. Banelings lifted, be careful! Because if he lifts them, they can still... No, not there! Oh, no, Serral doesn't know. Loses a bunch of the Zerglings underneath. It could have been worse, but I don't think Serral's aware of how that works. Even though he killed the Baneling, Serral probably not factoring in the airburst version. Oracle hunted down. Machine is still at 14 drones. Trigger actually has 36 probes. Oracle's taken out. Serral has a third base. Baneling connects. Still so many 37 Zerglings though. And the Phoenix is looking to seal the deal. Another massive Bane hit. That one for Serral. Oh my god, it's a bat. He keeps lifting. No, instant replay. I need to see it again. He did it again. Serral, this is how you know Serral doesn't play team games. Okay, Serral just not factoring in the Baneling airburst. And he loses so many. I've never seen Serral lose that many Zerglings. And... oh! Wow! He didn't know! He's lost 90 Zerglings! And I think he lost like 20 to that Baneling. And that Baneling may have saved the game. It's still bad for Trigger and Machine. It's terrible. But it's not over yet. Because of the logistical technicality of lifted Banes. Wow. It's such a weird animation, too, because it's not like it drops down. It just explodes in the air, and the Zerglings spontaneously melt. So, it might not even be clear what happened. I'm sure Serral's figuring it out now. Alley-ooped by his teammate. Now gonna deal with some of the Stalkers. Well, 90 and 60 supply. Machine still at 24. The proxy hatch was optimistic. Saved by the technicalities here. But MaxPax has the Phoenixes. The Roaches are coming together. He's going to have Roach speed momentarily. Serral's bringing it all together. Gotta watch out with that, but be careful with those Banelings. Gotta pick up the Stalkers. Trigger, does he have Blink? No. Gonna try to knock down some of the Phoenixes, but there's just too much biomass. And Serral murdering the very few drones left over. With a vengeance here. Clearly, to editorialize, maybe a little upset about it. But it does seem like Serral and MaxPax. And the fact that it's even close tells you how important it is to work as a team in 2v2. Here, MaxPax almost actively hurting Serral, despite his attempts to help, because of those team mechanics. Trigger and Machine working together well, but not enough to surmount the juggernauts on the other side of the map. Finally, Roach Speed is done. Trigger doing great. He's kiting across the entire map. But Serral literally has more supply than the other team combined. Though Machine's at 15, so it's really not that much of an advantage. He's all but dead. Wow, Trigger's not done yet. Still microing back. The base is under attack. MaxPax has 40. JJ! They tap it all out. And it's all over. Serral and MaxPax will take the series 2-1. But even in a mirror matchup, another demonstration, we had our boring, our standard Phoenix War macro game. And then the potential for the back and forth. The interactions of units that almost never happen, or literally cannot happen, in 1v1. Showing how dynamic 2v2 can be. And if there's enough support, I truly believe, and if you watch especially the second channel where I play some more community-oriented RTS, that it can be a thing. We can add custom balance. We can add other restrictions or maps to 2v2 in a way that we can't really do in 1v1 for many reasons. So, if you enjoy, make sure, if you got the means and motivation, check out that description. The match arena, and potentially support the tournament. Or at least, let uThermal know you liked watching it here, and he should put on more and send me the replays. Though uThermal immediately sending me the replays for these. I didn't, just to be clear, very supportive of the whole community-oriented thing. uThermal doing a lot of work for it, and I really appreciate it. It's not easy to organize a tournament, even if you're participating in it. Actually, it's much harder than I did. But I certainly hope you enjoyed. I hope this... I don't usually say it, because it feels, one, tacky, and two, tempting fate. But I certainly hope this video does well. Hope enough people are interested they make it to this weird part of the outro. And check out more in the future. So, thank you for watching. I certainly hope you enjoyed as much as I did, and look forward to more. Remember, this weekend, if you're watching in the first couple days, otherwise, you'll see all the highlights, and hopefully next season. But good luck, have fun. If you got the means of motivation here, check out Patreon as well. But liking and subscribing is still free, at least for now. So I'll see you next time. Thank you for watching. Good luck, have fun. Stay chill.